So guys, welcome along to our class and welcome to those of you online. As you can see, we're up to class 7 in this topic called Samsara and Nirvana. And these teachings, or this course, is sort of focused on the teachings and the meditations that are common for a person of medium capacity. So a person of medium capacity, what they're trying to do is generate what they call a mind of renunciation, a mind that definitely wants to emerge from cyclic existence. They seek to be free from cyclic existence. And their way of becoming free is to engage in true paths and the true cessations. Now, let's do a meditation first of all. So first we're going to just calm ourselves down, get the body relaxed and the mind focused. We'll say a few prayers together and then we'll begin the class proper. If you get comfortable in your seat, allow your shoulders to relax. If you like, let your eyes close too. And while your eyes are closed, allow the body to breathe itself. And as the body breathes itself, just let your attention rest upon the movements of the chest or the belly. In fact, any place where you can feel the breath impacting the body. This gives us an object of focus. And what we're focused on is relationship between the breath and the body. Imagine a slight smile coming over your face. This will relax 40 muscle groups within the face and contribute to the relaxation of the body. And with the body relaxed, the mind focused, it's very easy to imagine that we are surrounded by all sentient beings who are suffering to some degree. They all wish to put an end to that suffering. They all wish to be happy, just like we do. These two wishes, to be free from suffering and to be happy, have not yet been accomplished by us, but they have been accomplished by others. And these others, the enlightened beings, appear in the space above us. Here we can see the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Arahats, yogis and sages. So decide to rely upon this enlightened entourage to bring about a realization of their teachings. And through your dependence upon them, take refuge in them, not just for your own sake, but for the sake of all living beings. I think I'm going to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to put an end to suffering and its causes so that I can help others do the same. And then join me in saying, I go for refuge until I am enlightened through the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened through the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Seven. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened through the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Seven. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So in response to this wish of ours, think that lights and nectars pour out of the heart of the Buddha. They wash over you and the people surrounding you. And every obstacle, hindrance, and affliction are washed away. The mind returns to its open, clear nature. And the natural qualities of compassion and wisdom appear to you. You decide to develop the four immeasurable thoughts and to help others do the same. And so you say, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. In response to this wish, again, lights and nectars pour out of the heart of the Buddha. They wash over you and the people surrounding you. They wash away every hindrance and obstacle to these four immeasurable thoughts. And these four qualities are seen to be natural reflections of the mind's nature. Now we recollect with joy this field of enlightened beings, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the sages and so forth, and wishing to accumulate merit and purify the mind completely, we recite to them this seven-limb prayer. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech and mind. I present cards of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own and others' merits to the great enlightenment. And in recollecting that all phenomena lack an independent and objective nature and exist in mere name, then prepare to offer this world system, yourself and your merit, to accomplish a non-abiding enlightenment, which will be of benefit to others. And then say, this ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents of sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field of offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Yiram Guru Raka Mandala Kamayatayam. This offering has been released, and the Buddha accepts it. He looks at us and smiles at us, and we look up into his eyes. We see that his eyes are filled with bliss and happiness, and we feel accepted and at ease. Then the field of the bodhisattvas, the arahats, the yogis and sages dissolves into light, which melts into the Buddha. And the emanation of the Buddha leaves his heart, moves through time and space, and it comes to rest above the crown of your head, facing in the same direction you are. The emanation descends enters the crown of your head, comes down through your throat, comes down through your chest, and stops just above your heart, whereby its radiance begins to expand, filling your chest, limbs, head, and mind with light. Light pushes out against the inner skin and goes out through the pores of your body and begins to fill the 10 directions of space. And wherever sentient beings exist in space, they're absorbed by this light and utterly transformed into the fully awakened state. And the light begins to withdraw from the 10 directions of space, and it re-enters your heart. You can feel yourself breathing. You can hear the sounds around you. And you can feel that you're sitting on a seat. And breathing normally and naturally. You understand this is a meditation of imagination, which has imprinted the mind with a cause or a condition for your full awakening. Think that you wish to awaken this cause by studying the Buddha, reflecting upon it and meditating upon it. To realize the true paths and the cessations that follow from them. And then breathing in through your nostrils, exhale through your mouth, allow your eyes to open, and move your body in whichever way you'd like to. You feel quite comfortable and at ease in the room. So let's have a look at what we have done in the last 6 weeks. We began with teachings on Samsara and Nirvana. We defined Samsara, we defined Nirvana. We also looked at other states of mind called liberation, renunciation, and the mind of enlightenment. And these different states of mind can be placed in a couple of categories called the pure and afflicted classes of truth. So Nirvana is put into the pure side of truth, and the phenomena called samsara goes into the afflicted classes of truth. And these phenomena called the pure and afflicted classes of truth also contain the 4 noble truths. The first and second of the noble truths, the truths of suffering and the truth of origin, belong to the afflicted classes of truth, whereas the paths and cessations belong to the pure side of truth. Now, when the Buddha taught the 4 noble truths, he taught the effects before the causes, and there was some importance for the sequence. So it's taught in that particular way because it really suits our psychological way of being. Now, these 4 noble truths, or 4 truths known by noble persons, have 16 characteristics. And over the last 6 weeks or so, we've gone through each of them. At the end of each class, we look at the importance of meditation, meaning that we're to sort of take something away from the lesson and cultivate it, try to become familiar with it. And the books relied upon to teach this course are these ones here. So the book down the bottom there called Samsara, Nirvana and Buddha Nature in particular is deep and wide and has a very full explanation of the Four Noble Truths, the 12 links of dependent origination, which describes samsara. And it's also got a lovely presentation on what's called the Buddha Nature. The book right next door to it, Buddhism, has all the same information, but it's condensed. Okay, so today we're going to look at quite a difficult topic that was called the 12 factors of dependent arising. So I'll just talk to you a little bit about the history of it, and then we'll move into its symbolism. So the story is that there was a king of a distant land, and he made a present of this really priceless jewel to another king. The king who got this jewel felt that he didn't have anything of equivalent worth to return the favor. So he went to the Buddha and asked him what he should give. And the Buddha suggested him to give a drawing of these 12 links of dependent arising. So you see that it's got 5 sections symbolizing suffering. So it said that when the king got this gift and started to study it, over time he attained realization. Now on this picture, which is not obvious on the one on the screen, there's often a little plaque that's on it. So you see it like this, and there's a little plaque with a couple of verses on it. And these verses read, practicing this and abandoning that, enter the teaching of the Buddha. Like an elephant in a thatch house, destroy the forces of the Lord of Death. Those who, with thorough conscientiousness, practice this disciplinary doctrine will forsake the wheel of birth, bringing dukkha to an end. So I really like this beginning, practicing this and abandoning that into the teaching of the Buddha. So if you want to describe the teachings of the Buddha, it's a really good way of saying what it is. It's just saying, do this and don't do that. It's as simple as that. Now this term, dependent arising, is an abbreviation for dependent and related arising. So again, dependent arising is an abbreviation for dependent and related arising. Now, in the context of these 12 links, dependent means that the arising of each link depends on the previous one. Related indicates that if one link does not exist, the next cannot arise. There's a relationship between the two links. And each set of 12 links contains the causes and results associated with one birth, although a complete set of 12 links may occur over 2 or 3 lifetimes. There's holiness in the book Samsara, Nirvana and Buddha Nature on page 158 says, to fully understand each link, we need to understand its relation to both the link that precedes it and the link that follows it. The Buddha calls on us to contemplate what is the origin of each link, what is its cessation, and what is the path leading to that cessation. So just saying that, I think you should be able to see some relationship between the Four Noble Truths. Because we've got truth of path, truth of cessation in there, and then we've got truth of origin and truth of dukkha on the other side. And so these links have some relationship to that teaching too. Now, when we engage in the study of this teaching, I think it's always important to understand, like, why are we doing it? Why is it important for us to even study it? So first of all, we should take away the knowledge that the causes of suffering are within us. So here, what the causes are here is talking about substantial causes. We have other causes called contributory, and they could be outside of us. but the substantial cause, the real cause, is within us. That means relief from suffering must be accomplished within ourselves. Through the study of the 12 links, we can also realize that our actions have an ethical dimension. Now, if we do that, if we understand this ethical dimension, then we can stop the misconception that there are no future lives. So now let's have a look at the symbolism of the painting. So if we look, holding it like we just look directly straight into the center of it, you can see there's an inner circle there, and there are three sort of animals there. There's a snake, there's a pig, and there's a pigeon. So we have that, then we have outside it another circle, a 1/2 black with some beings falling down, and the other half white with some beings going upwards. Then around it, we've got like it's either 5 or 6 divisions circling that. Then after that, there's these 12 links, the outer edge of the wheel. And then there's a sort of red beastie with 5 skulls on his head holding the thing. And outside, on one side, we've got a Buddha, and he's pointing like that, and he's pointing towards the moon. So if we go into the center, so in the center, we have the 3 afflictives, the 3 afflictions, which give rise to virtuous and non-virtuous actions. Then around it, actions, which give rise to various levels of suffering. So these actions, they're called white actions or black actions. White karma or virtuous karma, black karma or non-virtuous actions, karmas. So there we have the whole apparatus of cyclic existence. The afflictions and the karma. This is the origins of suffering, aren't they, in terms of the 4 noble truths. Yeah. Then outside it, we have suffering itself. And so we've got the 5 or 6 different realms within cyclic existence. And around the outside shows how all that comes to be. These links of becoming. There are 12 of them. So you can see the very that red beastie. So just on the, we're looking at them on the right-hand side, there's somebody there with a walking stick. Looks like a walking stick or a cane. That symbolizes ignorance. And then the rest go around, ending up with death.
Oh, that's the blind man with the...
Yeah, so the blind man with a stick, that's the first link, ignorance. Go right, and right next door on the left-hand side is death. So there we've got somebody carrying something on their back. So in Tibet, when people would die, they'd wrap the corpse up, and then one of their relatives would put it on their back, and then they'd walk off to the charnel grounds, and they'd put them out there, and then you get priests out there that would hack them up, feed them to the vultures. So that's, and so this big red beastie fellow holding them, this represents on one level sort of everything's held by impermanence. Everything is subject to change within this wheel of cyclic existence. There's nothing stable within it. And outside it, we have the Buddha, and he's pointing to a clear moon. So the Buddha's representing, this is the path, and he's pointing like this. Right? And what he's pointing to is the true cessations, peace.
Achieve this world?
No, not necessarily. Yeah. Beastie. Sometimes I call them Yama. Sometimes it's just like impermanence. That's what it. So all of this is symbolic. We go through the 5 skulls. You can look at those being the 5 aggregates. But from another point of view, it's the 5 wisdoms. It just depends upon how you want to look at this. But it's all, like I say, a symbolic thing.
Slide with the numbers.
Ah, thank you. So again, from the center, we have the three afflictions, three root afflictions, or called the three poisons. Outside, karma, actions producing suffering, some beings falling into the lower realms, some beings coming up, and their little lives within cyclic existence. On the rim, the 12 links of dependency, the red beastie impermanence, freedom and its path outside it. Anything you'd like to ask or talk about here?
Can
Okay,
you
Sam.
just speak when you said the three afflictions give rise to virtuous and non-virtuous actions?
Yep.
You misspoke.
No, this one. You can create virtue which is tinged with attachment. And many of us do. You know, we're kind to our children, we're kind to our parents. It can be mixed, you know, it's just kind to them, but not to anyone else. Ben, you want to ask something?
What was the word you're calling now? Something?
Beastie.
The beastie, the red beastie.
Oh, I said beastie.
Okay, so let's do a short meditation then. So remember, meditation, one of the things is just to become familiar with something or to cultivate understanding. So get comfortable in your seats. Allow your eyes to close. And breathe normally and naturally. And I want you to imagine that you receive the drawing of the 12 links of dependent arising as a precious gift. Now I want you to look into the center of this wheel of existence. And contemplate the three poisons and their reinforcement of suffering. And just go outside, next circle. What do you see there? To reflect on the consequences of actions leading to either fortunate or unfortunate rebirths. So surrounding this blackened circle, which is half black, half white, visualize the different realms of existence and their varying levels of suffering. There's the realm of the humans, the realm of the animals, the realm of the hungry ghosts, hell realms, and the realms of the gods. You're moving outside it, there is the rim of this wheel, which has how many links? Can you see that each link relies upon the other? But one of the links is called ignorance, and we have to abandon that and cultivate virtuous actions to bring about freedom from suffering. So contemplate the Buddha's gesture. The Buddha is outside that wheel. He's pointing, which means this is the path. What's he pointing towards? And what does this moon represent? It means peace, true cessation. Nirvana. We've all been able to do this very well. So now just breathe in through your nostrils and exhale. Allow your eyes to flutter open. And we'll start looking at these links one by one. So how to go with that? You find that easy to do? The images arise easy for you? The first link, of course, is this link of ignorance. So ignorance is a mental factor that is the opposite of the wisdom apprehending selflessness. So some of you were here, I think it was Tuesday, we went through 9 different forms of ignorance. That was yesterday, right? And it was quite a long definition for it. This is a very short one and much easier to remember.
Inside out.
So when we speak of the 12 links, the terminology is used in a very specific way. Because like I said, we've got 9 different forms of ignorance. So like which one is this one? We're saying, because we can have ignorance of karmic cause and its effect, ignorance of refuge, ignorance of the self existing in a permanent, independent, and singular manner. But none of those are this ignorance. So, for example, this link of ignorance refers to a specific instance of ignorance, not to all ignorance. And the links of formative karma and consciousness also refer to specific instances of those, and not to all karmas or all consciousness. And again, later on, we go to the other links, there's craving and there's clinging, and they're again, specific instances, not like all across the board when you come across these terms. So this root here, this ignorance, is the root of samsara, and it's beginningless. There's no findable beginning of it. So there's not a stage where suddenly everything was okay, we're all pure, and suddenly we ate an apple and we suddenly lost the plot. No, it's not like that. We're all the beginning can't be found of this ignorance. So this first link ignorance is the view of a personal identity. We talked about that yesterday too, didn't we? The view of a personal identity. And it is an innate self-grasping that has been present since beginningless time. And it's going to give rise to formative karma later. The first link ignorance is the specific moments of ignorance grasping inherent existence in the view of a personal identity that lie behind the motivation, performance, and completion of a virtuous or non-virtuous karma, powerful enough to project a rebirth in samsara. In short, first link ignorance is the view of a personal identity that newly motivates formative action, karma. This ignorance just actively grasping the self to exist in a way that it doesn't. That's all of us have a self. Right? Now, the self that we have is not the body and it's not the mind. Self we actually have is the mere I. So ignorance misapprehends that. It focuses on and goes, oh, and now it's more than mere. Now it's inherent. Now it's real, objective. So grasp it like that, and then the straight next thing is belief in it. It's like, for instance, the example I often give is one time I bought this pup home, So it came down the hallway and it had this big mirror. And as soon as it saw itself in the mirror, it just leapt back and it started barking at it. Right? So it misapprehended a reflection of itself to be another dog, something real. So just like us, right? We have the self just like a reflection. And we misapprehend it to be something real. So from fundamental standards on the middle way, this is obscured by ignorance, and for the sake of rebirth, we create three kinds of action. It is these actions constructing existence that propel us through transmigration. So we've got this thing that misapprehends ourselves, right? And also misapprehends the body and mind of ourselves. So those two appear to be inherently existent. In fact, it's grasping the aggregates to truly exist. Gives rise to the grasping of the I that's immediately designated to it. And so, in a way we go, the actions follow. The karmic formation is called compositional action. Up in the links, you can see it, compositional action, because actions serve to compose or bring together something. These compositional actions bring about all the future results of pleasure and pain. These formative actions are either virtuous or non-virtuous. And this second link, formative action, is our mental intentions and physical and verbal actions. So there's a direct cause of a future rebirth. Nagarjuna goes on to say that with volition as its condition, consciousness enters transmigration. Once consciousness has entered, name and form come to be. So each time we engage in an action which is supported by ignorance, that has a clear intention and is either virtuous or non-virtuous, we create the beginnings of a new set of 12 links. So think about that, how often that's going on in your daily life.
Like fractals.
So which karmic seed, and there's another term called, and having ceased, which karmic seed and having ceased ripen to bring the next rebirth depends on other factors, such as the strength of the karma and our state of mind at the time of death. So a new rebirth is not the sum total of all the karma we have ever created. Only one karma, or in some instances, a few karma, determine the realm of our next rebirth. This is going to lead us into consciousness, of course. So third link consciousness, which I'll show shortly, is primarily to the polluted mental consciousness. Is linked to the polluted mental consciousness, is just joined the next rebirth. The third link consciousness does not refer to all consciousnesses. In fact, it's only just one moment. Third link consciousness coming up, it's not a sense consciousness, nor is it the consciousness of a Buddha or anything else like that. So the third link refers only to the mental consciousness of two specific moments. I'm going to put that up now. The causal consciousness and then called the resultant consciousness. The causal consciousness is the moment of consciousness on which the karmic seed created by a formative action is placed. So we have this, if you can just imagine one moment of mind. Well, that moment of mind, yeah, a mind, which is a moment of consciousness, conjoined with that is this action that has been created. So these two are like together. Now, it hasn't produced the rebirth at that stage, has it? It's just there as this potential on the mind stream. We've got ignorance, and action is taking place. Where's that action going to go? Well, on consciousness. And there is a one moment of that action, or one moment of that consciousness. That's a cause for something. Something has not taken place yet. So what the result of that cause could be is a rebirth. So we see that later on in the next called becoming. The causal consciousness is the moment of consciousness on which the karmic seed created by a form of action is placed. Then, when it gets to the 10th, it's called the resultant consciousness. So, the resultant consciousness is the first brief moment of mental consciousness at the beginning of a new life. In the next moment, the fourth link, name and form, arise. Let's have a look at consciousness here, what it says. The mental consciousness that initiates the new life, connecting the mind stream from the previous life with the new life. It's like saying, for instance, as an analogy, the one that's really popping up is the one that relates to me. I'm not sure it's such a good one to tell you all.
We can do now.
So I've done a lot of silly things in my life, and some of them I've not been caught for legally. Right? So I haven't experienced the result of those actions that I did, right? But just suppose, like tomorrow, the police come and go, Eddie, we've got you. This bloke that you did this crime with like 30 years ago has told us what you did. Yeah. So now I get the effect of what I did 30 years ago.
It's a very good example.
Yeah, so it's like that, right? So we've all done things skillful. But not all the potentials of those actions have come to be, have they? So all it needs is the right conditions and they will be there. This is what this is sort of pointing out, So it's this consciousness that's going to take these seeds for rebirth. This is what carries the karmic seeds until they bring their results is a widely discussed topic among Buddhist schools. In the context of the 12 links, the causal consciousness plays this role. It links the causal consciousness into a future result that's not yet taken place. Just like, just say, for instance. So I remember another story similar to this. I talked to this bloke. So he'd done all these bank robberies successfully for years and never been caught for them. His wife had no idea he was doing that this was his job. Until one day the police came and knocked on his door and arrested him. And just like my story, what had happened was his partner had kept on doing crime and been caught. And to get out of it, he'd given up the bloke I was talking to. So years later, like he's been arrested and then put into jail for those crimes that he was not caught for at the time. So same here. This is a similar idea. We've done stuff, but we haven't experienced the effects of many of the things we've done.
Actually, that's what Lama Yeshe often said, that even if you're not caught in this life, karma will catch you. So
that's right. There's no escape. Like the natural born killers. Remember that who are in the cell? There is no escape. So that's right. No escape.
In 3 or 4 lives.
Yeah, that's right. It-
will catch up.
Yeah. And so this is why I often think when I was Oprah was saying that if you don't purify each night, you're crazy. You know, just many of us are. We don't really understand the depths of what's going on here.
Ben says, so does that mean it's better to bring the results forward by going and confessing to the police, for example?
It might be, Ben. Yeah, so this idea, so this consciousness that carries the seed. And so most schools agree, but the middle way consequence don't. Well, they don't disagree fully, but they disagree. They say that in the long term, it's the mere I that carries the karmic seeds. So in the short term, it's the mind, and we'll just go along with it. But they say it's the mere I. They assert this because a nominally existent person exists when the action is created and when the action bears its result. So this mere I must be the basis for the infusion of the karmic seed. And that's right, you really start thinking this through. That's what you're going to end up with. So the superior Nagarjuna said, with volition as its condition, consciousness enters transmigration. Once consciousness has entered, name and form come to be. So form, what do you think form represents here? Of what?
Of part aggregates.
No. Of the body, form. Name, form represents form, and name is the mental stuff. Yeah. So the mental and physical aggregates, our minds and bodies of this life, are the polluted ripening result of karma. As such, they are produced by afflictions and karma. And so they're the basis of all the dukkha we experience. All the, I mean, this, I remember this too, one time the kids were saying, yeah, you look at it, you go, holy heck, it's true. It's just because you've got this body, you're subject to suffering.
So did you say they're the result of the polluted actions?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So we've got a body and a mind together, and this is, I think, a really wonderful way of accepting the suffering that takes place. Once the effect has taken place, you should accept that. It's unavoidable. But you really want to try and put Dharma in place so that future sufferings don't need to take place. Once it's already taken place, it's too late to put an antidote in place, isn't it? Like it's happening. So that's why I say accept it. And Michael, what's the ripening of karma? It's just an effect of a cause you put in place. No good getting upset about it. And in fact, I remember when I was arrested, that's how I saw. I wasn't a Buddhist then, but that's how I took it. It was just like, fair enough. I've been doing all these crimes, and you know that when you do crime, the police are after you, and if they catch you, you have to accept that, right? But I met lots of people in jail that didn't accept it at all. They didn't like it at all. I couldn't say to them anything about it. But you go, hang on, you didn't know what you were doing, did you? So it's like this too late. I think what's the same now? Suffering takes place, you should accept it. And as the Lama say, like suffering is a broom that sweeps away the karma. So each time we've got a new chance. I think you were saying yesterday, Sandy, about you just start again. It's just like don't hold on to the stuff. This is every moment you've got a chance to begin again. I think that's really wonderful. Like you don't need to, I mean, sure, we're experiencing suffering, but you don't have to like hold on to it any longer than necessary. It's impermanent, it's subject to change. And so we let it unfold and we move on. So in the case of a human birth, this fourth link, name and form, refer to the five aggregates from the time just after conception until the time the five sense organs begin to develop. And so here we have this picture. This is how name and form is often presented as a boat with a couple of people in it. You can see a name refers to the combination of the four non-physical aggregates. Feelings, discrimination, formative activity, and consciousness. And as Ben pointed out, form refers to the physical aggregate, what we commonly call the body. So here it's like people in a boat, but in other pictures it's depicted by like three beams or like three sticks leaning up against one another. So one of the questions is, how long does name and form last in terms of the 12 links? It says here, it lasts as long as the fetus or embryo has not yet begun to develop the 5 or 6 organs. It's going through the jelly-like state and having little knobs and so forth, which indicates states of development of the embryo.
So that's what name and form.
It's referring to, yeah. Yes, it's very interesting reading this material. Like recently, it's got much better books out now. Now, this one has taken from the end of suffering and the discovery of happiness, but the same material is used in the Samsara and Nirvana material. We've got name and form, and then it goes on to what they call the 6 sense bases. These are 6 internal bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, tactile, and mental, that generate consciousness. So this is depicted by this empty house, because these are the inner sources of consciousness, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sense, mind. So although the organs are still developing at this time, they're not functioning. But they're still fetal stages, but it's gone beyond the little jelly bumps stage. So yes, I was really amazed reading this material. I thought, well, how did they know that? You know, it's so, yeah, it's just like, wow. I mean, that's must be the power of the mind. It's the only thing I can put it down to. As when name and form have come into being, the 6 sources emerge. In dependence on these 6 sources, contact properly arises. The contact is the period where object, sense power, and consciousness meet. The contact distinguishes the object as pleasurable, painful, or neutral, but as prior to the production of that feeling.
Contact first.
Yeah, so you've got to have contact first, which makes sense, isn't it? So you make this contact with a neutral object, and then the neutral feeling arises. You make contact with an unpleasant object, and then the feeling of the unpleasantness arises.
So in a particular lifetime, that would happen for the first time, wouldn't it, in the womb?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
that's right.
first time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, so it's the first time for that particular rebirth.
But that
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Sandy. Yeah. Yeah. So you can see that consciousness is being produced by way of these 3 conditions. The first called the observed object condition, and that's what causes the consciousness to be generated in the aspect of that object, and so forth. The contact is a combination of 3 in terms of what you might see. So there's the eye, the form, and the consciousness. And from such contact, feeling always arises. The feeling, I always like this one too, with the person with the arrow with their eye. So the feeling is the ripening of previous karmic seeds. And once that feeling has arisen, the entire experience is complete. So I remember Rabina saying this once time, that every feeling we experience is a karmic result.
Question, you know, sometimes if you experience anxiety, that you're worrying about something, and then you think to yourself, well, I don't really need to worry about that. Like you sort of work with your mind.
Yeah.
Even though the anxiety is a consequence of the previous, it's a karmic result.
Yeah.
You can consciously create a different karmic result.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, well, that's right,
Within
yeah.
like the space of
Yeah.
a minute or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you put it into your mind.
Right.
Yeah, so you have a particular result. In response to that result, you create something which is a new cause for something. So, depending upon which direction you're looking, we call cause or effect. Yeah, cause or effect. So, but one thing you've got to remember is that non-virtuous mental states never produce virtuous mental states. And so that's what I'm saying. So you've got like anxiety, negative creative suffering, but all the way you've got an opportunity to create something new. So then you argue against this, the anxiety, and it stops.
But it's not the anxiety that will produce.
No, it's not the anxiety that produces the fact that I know I've got to stop it.
It's like your awareness.
Yeah, that's right. Just awareness, and you know, okay, I've got to, I can do something about that, and so you do. So this is where I want to stop in terms of the feeling.
Ben has a question about this. So if you have the ability to change your feelings using your thoughts, would that be a result of past practice in concentration and flexibility?
Well, it could be. It could also be the like an effect of, suppose you hadn't done that for a long time, you just didn't know that you could do that. And there are people that just become more and more anxious, don't they? But then suppose you meet a psychologist, somebody you trust, or someone who used to be very anxious just like yourself, and they give you a method. So that would be like from the present, isn't it? But the thing is that the fact is that I think one of the things to remember is that the mind is naturally pure right from the get-go. None of these afflictions are of the nature of the mind. So it can always be worked with. If the afflictions were of the nature of the mind, well, there's nothing you could do about that. It wouldn't matter what sort of antidotes you put in, the suffering would always remain, wouldn't it? The anxiety would always be there. And this, if you took that view, that would be one of the wrong views in terms of the Four Noble Truths that we've been talking about. Right? Is there anything else that coming up?
I just had a question from way at the beginning of that first link of ignorance. So even though you said it's one instance of ignorance, when you describe what it was, it's like every moment I have that ignorance.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. But it's like, yeah,
And
so,
everything I do is informed by that
yeah,
ignorance.
that's right. But there are always moments of it. And so the moments make up what we call the continuum. Because the mind itself is a continuum of moments.
So does that mean that each moment we're creating a new set of 12 links?
Not each moment, just about, yeah. That's what we saw, because each time you do ignorance and then an action, you got it, there you go. There's a new one.
Right.
Did you have to ask that question?
It was worrying me, and now the answer is two.
That's right. Hasn't gotten any better. That's what I was going to say. You've got to keep remembering all this. This is the process we're talking about. It doesn't mean that the mind itself, there's nothing we can do, because it's all based around this ignorance. Ignorance is just a misconception. It's a misknowledge. And in fact, the thing has been pure right from the beginning. Like I'm saying, it's just that we don't perceive it that way. We don't perceive, we misunderstand it.
And so then it does then point out that if we can work against that ignorance, then we stop the whole 12 links.
Yes, that's right.
Right there.
Right there. So that. So we just yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
We did this meditation. So what you got to do is identify the object to be negated. Right? So you go, okay, so that's an inherently just an I or mine. Okay, so you can just think, okay, well, and if I put that up and see that it's not there, I'm getting insight into my true nature. So now I saw on Facebook, like Lama Yeshe did this really simple thing, which was just to do something very similar. Like he said, that's enough. Just look at that. And so when you do it, it's like, well, it's the same result. Like what I think is there is not there. I'm seeing it's not there. He said, that's enough. Just rest in that. Because you're seeing at long last, what you always thought was true is not true. All you have to do is become familiar with that. Become familiar with the truth of how it actually is. So that's always open to us because that way it's always like that. It's never been any different. It always appears different to us though because we think a lot, right? We overlay it with conceptions and ideas and they're all wrong. As soon as we do it, the thing appears wrongly to us. So if we can just take a break from it, which is often just like like I said, don't think about the past, don't think about the present, the future. So what's left? It's like, okay, now let go of any ideas you might have about what the present is. So now you're completely present. Right? So in that complete presentness, do you see yourself? Do you see this thing called mind? Do you see any afflictions whatsoever? None of them. They're not there. Right? But until you do it, they'll always appear to be there, and you always get, like I said, like the karma, right? That's an action. So thinking is an action. Every time we think, that's an activity, a mental activity. So we create straight away. And then we believe it. So this idea of like the mind stops creating. If you're not thinking about the past or about the future, and you drop the present moment, there's no creation going on there. You just come back to what you've always been. And we're just going to get used to it, familiar with it. And that's what we call meditation. Just come back to the true nature, rest in it, don't create any karma. Let's do a meditation. Okay. Okay. So again, we're sitting in our seats, we're quite comfortable, we're at ease. And the body is breathing itself. We've let our eyes close. So it's very easy to imagine the root of suffering. It's called ignorance. It is an innate, self-grasping view of personal identity. It's been present since beginningless time. And it gives rise to formative karma and projecting a rebirth in cyclic existence. Let us contemplate these specific moments of ignorance grasping inherent existence. This fuels the virtuous or non-virtuous actions that project rebirth in samsara. So I think you can imagine easily how ignorance afflicts beings. It obscures the right view that perceives the emptiness of inherent existence. We'll take a moment to reflect on the causal and immediate motivations for actions. And understand how ignorance of ultimate nature leads to polluted karma and formative actions. Let's think about the nature of these formative actions, these karmas. They're either virtuous or non-virtuous intentions expressed through your body, speech, and mind, shaping your future. So to imagine the continuum of consciousness carrying these karmic seeds. And those seeds will bring results. Oftentimes, a new life. Then reflect on the link of name and form. So what is form? And what does name refer to? Following name and form, there is the emergence of the 6 sources and then contact. And from contact arises feeling. This is the 7th link, whereby we experience pleasure, pain, or neutrality. So in your own mind, now can you go back from feeling? What came before feeling? There was contact. And what was before contact? There are the 6 sources. And what did the 6 sources arise from? It's name and form. And what did name and form arise from? It was consciousness. And consciousness came from the karma, the actions. And actions arose from the ignorance. And now in your own time, again, just go forward. From ignorance arises karmic formations. From karmic formations arise consciousness. From consciousness arise name and form. From name and form arise 6 sense spaces. From the 6 sense spaces arises contact. From contact arise feeling. Okay. Breathing in, exhale, let it all go. It's a little bit, so this is meditation, really works your mind. Yes. Well, I'll go through this. So let's have a look next. What comes after this is craving. So I actually broke this up to make that pause, that feeling, because it's between feeling and craving that the links can be broken, because it doesn't follow that you have to crave after feeling. In fact, that's what meditation is very good for. If you can just place your attention on the feeling and don't go any further, let the thing just dissolve. You cut. So craving is of 3 types. We have sensual craving. This is the guy with a beer bottle in his hand. He likes his booze. There's also a craving for renewed existence, and there's a craving for non-existence. So oftentimes, if you go through great mental difficulty or great pain, there's a craving to finish it by dying. Just kill yourself. We think that'll be the end of it. But as we know, it's not. It's just the end of one, the more gross forms of suffering, but the causes are still there. Now, this link in the next one are 2 types of desire. The difference between them is craving is a weaker phase of desire, and grasping, which is coming up as a stronger phase. His Holiness says, the picture depicting craving shows a man drinking beer. This is easy to understand, isn't it? No matter how much beer you drink, although it makes you fat and you keep drinking it, there's no satisfaction. That's so true. Craving is something that increases desire without any satisfaction. The boundaries of it are from the time of the fourth link, name and form, until the one coming up grasping. This is conditioned by feeling, there is craving, and the craving is for feeling. Whenever there is this craving, grasping of four kinds arises. It's quite right to get us think of how like people want to have the feeling again and again. They want to feel what they felt before. When they don't, they get a bit disappointed. So grasping augments craving by strengthening and actualizing the ripening of the karmic seeds into samsaric rebirth or other experiences. So grasping makes us engage in the activities that produce our next existence. As you can see, it's depicted as a monkey taking fruit. It's the taking of an object that one desires. There are four different types. The first is grasping at desires. The second is grasping at views of the self. The third is grasping at bad systems of ethics and conduct. You see that prevalent today, don't you? And the fourth is grasping at the remaining types of bad views.
There's very strong compulsion with grasping, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like you feel so compelled. Like you don't want to hold back.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. And look, it's a good example of the fruit. The monkey like holds it, grasps and holds it.
So it's different from the craving, and the craving is more the motivation or the feeling. And yeah, it's following
They're
through.
they're both forms of desirous energy, you might say. One is weaker than the other. Yeah, it might be like, to give the example of the person drinking, like they like to drink, so they go and they drink and they keep drinking. But if you say to them, oh, that maybe you've had enough, then they get upset. You want to take the beer away from them and they want to have a fight or something, right? It's like someone that's got much,
That's the grasping.
That's the grasping, yeah. So don't want to be separated. This is here, where there is grasping, the becoming of the grasper thoroughly comes to be. Isn't that nice? Were there no grasping, then being free, there would be no becoming. Yeah, so here you've got just a guy drinking, and then later on it's called, and now you're a drunk. Right? Now you're an alcoholic, but before you just like to drink. You become something much stronger. I think this is verse number 10, isn't it? Renewed existence. That's the karmic force that leads to rebirth in that particular state. Now this here is like the calmness just about to ripen into the new rebirth. So it was like at the second link we created the act. Then it went on to the consciousness. So that has this potential. Now the potential is about to take place.
"30 years later."
Yeah, that's right. 30 years later, here it comes. Yeah. Within this are two divisions of time. One level might be called directional, as it is directed toward the next lifetime. And the other is the level of having entered or being in the process of entering. This refers to the potentialized karma in the intermediate state between two lifetimes. Which leads us to birth. And birth is described as the first moment when your mental and physical aggregates conjoin. So again, that's one moment, not like we often think of birth, in our culture. So as Holy says, the meaning is probably that the woman is in a state of change. And from Chandragama's letter to Asund, he says, those born into the tumbling, incessant change of cyclic existence clutch onto a simple moment of repose as the real happiness. They will surely wander helplessly through hundreds of rebirths, some like this, some different, one after another. Horrifying, isn't it? And of course, the first moment is called birth, and what do you think the next moment is going to be called?
Old age.
Not old age,
Yeah,
aging.
aging.
Yeah, aging is the decline of life that begins immediately after birth.
So meaning after conception.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as the mind and the egg and the physical stuff have got together, it's downhill. The disintegration process is going to start. Yeah, it's quite strange, isn't it? I often think about it, it's like you know, we think we're growing. We often think that we're growing towards something, but in this presentation, now you're actually declining. Your life is growing ever shorter. Aging and death. And death is the separation of the most subtle mind from the gross body.
So that really pinpoints it to the second, doesn't it? Both of those.
Yeah, that's right. So he says there are two types of aging. One is the momentary disintegration, which takes place immediately after the moment of conception, and every moment from then on for the rest of your life. The other type is complete deterioration, which is what we usually think of as aging, becoming old. And then there is death. In between these, there are cries of sorrow and all sorts of suffering, getting what you don't want, not getting what you do want, getting separated from what you hold dear. So our lives begin with suffering when we are born. The end is death, another type of suffering. In between, there is illness, old age, and all kinds of unfortunate things. This is what is called dukkha in Sanskrit. The Holiness from the end of suffering and the discovery of happiness says, as long as ignorance, which is the seed of suffering, is there, every minute we may create a certain kind of action or cause of another rebirth. On one consciousness, there is an infinite number of predispositions established by actions motivated by ignorance. And again, from the extensive sports sutra, it says, death makes the powerful powerless. Death sweeps you away like a flood carries off a log. People go alone with no one else, without friends, possessing karma that must ripen. They have no control. Yeah. So we'll have a short meditation. Just like that, just get comfortable in your seat. Perhaps take a bit of a deeper breath and then exhale. Then let the breath return to its normal state and have the body breathe itself. And notice how you can experience a range of feelings, going from neutrality to pleasure or to pain. And notice how these feelings strongly influence our desires and reactions. Then contemplate the nature of craving. A persistent longing that amplifies desire and dissatisfaction and leads to grasping. See grasping as a desperate act of a monkey reaching for fruit, representing the attachment to desired objects or views of self. You think of renewed existence, this karmic potentiality that leads to the next rebirth, which is shown to us as a pregnant woman carrying an unborn child. And just think of the cycle of existence, marked by birth, aging, and death, and the inevitable suffering inherent in this perpetual cycle. There is the inevitability of aging and death. And this encompasses the suffering inherent in life's transience. We'll take a moment or two and contemplate the impermanence of life. And the urgency to overcome suffering by understanding its root cause, ignorance. Finally, acknowledge the profound impact of ignorance as the root cause of suffering. Ignorance drives the cycle of existence and perpetuates the cycle of rebirths. Desire to put an end to ignorance. Acknowledge that you can. And then breathing in deeply through your nostrils. Exhale. A little big out breath. Then breathe in. Allow yourself to be present. So it's not all that comfortable or easy to meditate on this material, is it?
Sorry.
But there are benefits of reflection.
Where's the ice cream?
Can you see any benefit there? Yeah, so that's number seven. So when we reflect on causal dependence, it clears away wrong views. So you can see as this, they're all dependent, which means they're all impermanent. None of these causes, and none of the 12 links are stable. And like I said, they're all arising from ignorance, which is just a complete misperception, a misconception, misperception of how things are. So if you can actually see how things are and familiarize the mind with that, that puts an end to ignorance. Nevertheless, saying that, just remember that since you were born, the world has always appeared to us in a false way, and we've believed it. So however old we are, and then I've come to Buddhism, I've got that many years of habitual responding to the world falsely. And so here we are now, at our age, and we understand it. That's what's been going on. So it's not going to stop, right? Just because we understand we've got a completely false view of it. And it's not going to stop just because we see it very clearly that ignorance doesn't truly exist. And neither do we. In fact, nothing truly exists. There isn't anything. But it's not going to stop just because we see it once. But just this reflection can get us seeing rightly. And reflecting on it, we can understand that causal dependence can lead to an insight into emptiness. So give me an idea of this, right? So has anybody ever seen a cause? Yeah. Have you ever seen a cause?
What?
Right. Of anything. Have you ever seen a cause?
Yes,
Yeah.
Where? How?
a seed in the ground.
You're looking at a seed. That's not a cause. That's called a seed.
That could also be the result of something too.
That's right.
Oh, that's the cause, you see cause when you know it's what it resolved at that. The two go together.
Causes
What if,
are, well,
what if you had a domino and you flick the domino?
Yeah.
The cause of the domino is going and you're flicking that, but it's all interdependent. The causes are interdependent on conditions.
Isn't the cause if you look at yourself, because you're the.
Well, Ben W here has been very tricky and said, not an inherently existent cause.
well, right. That's right. Well, not only that, you don't even see conventionally existing causes.
It's going through someone's face is a cause, isn't it?
Would be two causes.
That's right. That's exactly right then. It's all imputed. It all exists dependent upon name. A cause is a name you give to something. No one has seen a cause independent of the thing you give the name to. They don't exist like that.
So I've fused the name with the cause.
That's right. And that's what we do too, Deb. Right? You infuse the name with the other thing and you call that a cause. But that's inherent existence right there. That's what we call inherent existence. As I was saying, have you ever seen a cause?
So we designate a cause.
That's right. So there's no causes existing from the sides of objects because we designate them.
So when I'm looking at the problems on the website, I can go, haha, I found the designated cause.
That's right. So we've designated that to be the cause, and many people, that's what we do, isn't it?
Right.
And often you find people look at it and go, oh no, that's not the cause. Or that's one of the causes. So they designate that as being a cause, but you might find others. But they're all, the word cause is labeled onto something else. The phenomena itself is not the cause. Right? We've got something called a basis of designation for cause. Right? We label what did you call them, Bev? The dominoes falling as this, hitting this as the cause, right? So that's designated. It's imputed to the action. Right? It doesn't exist from the side of the action.
So, and what is the cause of the dominoes falling over?
No, well, this is, you cannot find the cause. The cause, this is the thing, you cannot find, this is what Nagarjuna's root text of wisdom is all about. It asks all those questions and find there's none of these things exist inherently. They're all imputed. No, they don't exist inherently.
The dominoes do
exist.
fall over, but
They exist in mere name. This is the thing, you gotta keep like checking this out all the time and going, oh my God, how I'm infusing my conception with something else. I'm putting them together and going, here it is. That's it. No, it's not. That's the basis. And then you call it something. So what you call it can't be in it. You put it on top. So it's empty of that.
There's also the second dependency on the result, like the cause and the result, that they have a dependency as well.
That's their right.
They don't exist inherently.
That's right. Always.
They relate to each other.
That's right. They exist in dependency. But anything that exists independently cannot have inherent existence. That's its opposite. What is not dependent is inherent. But it is dependent, it's empty of that inherence. Okay.
Is that because there's no it?
No
inherent it,
objective it. That's
no
right.
objective.
Yeah.
But everything looks like an
That's
objective
right.
it.
That's right. Especially our identity.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is this idea of like, this is where the root is. Okay. So there's lots of benefits. But well, I say the thing is to try and play with it. Play with it, keep checking.
Ben W says the objective it would be a great name for a band.
It's good. Well, yes. So what's our takeaway today? So we know what these 12 links are, but we probably forget. So it's a good idea to play them forwards and backwards. And if it's hard to do 12, do 3. Then add the next 3, then 3, 3. If one link is dependent upon another, you should know that they're empty of any intrinsic nature. Dependence, if you want to describe inherent nature, inherent existence, whatever, it's just called not dependent. Non-dependence, that's inherent nature. Its opposite is dependent nature. And the biggest one, the most, in some ways it's really simple, but otherwise it might not be for you. Dependent on name. That's a real big one. Everything is dependent upon name for its identity. But so as soon as you do that, you go, it's empty. It's empty of the intrinsic nature, dependent upon a name. Ready? Stop there.
About to go round again.
That's right. So FPMT notes 45 and 47. Next week we'll look at these 12 links again from a different perspective. And we'll look at the 3 higher trainings, after training persons who are middling capacity engage them to transcend this cycle. So now we come to dedicate our virtues. So thinking that, we've been learning about these 12 links of dependent origination so that we can unwind them. See, because they are dependent, they're empty of any intrinsic nature. So I don't need to grasp them as being true, truly existent. So I want to take that virtue, and I understand that this virtue, as it's created, is also dependent and empty. And I am too. And so is Buddhahood. And so are sentient beings. Yet they all exist. So, due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the same of the Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme for all bodies, not yet born, arise to God. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the sorrows of the world. If one of the greatest teachers of our times who taught dependent arising and emptiness, and lots of teachings on dukkha, let's pray for his return. In holding and spreading the moving precious and complete teachings through explanation and
practice.
you are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, edible Guru, to you I make this sickness. Okay, thank you, everybody. Things to think about, and thank you for those of you online, especially Mr. Ben, good questions. And let's name a band, Itch.